Hey everybody, Roxabox90 here, back with the third part of our full Fate Reforged limited set review. We're continuing with the black cards of the set. We already did blue and white. If those are asking about why I'm doing it in this order, it's purely because if you look on the Mythic Spoiler website, from left to right, you have white, blue, black, red, green. I'm just lazy. That's the reason why. It's not because we have a standard on YouTube that everyone does. That's purely the reasoning going on here. Anyway, getting into the cards, we have Typhoid Ratch. If you have to run a 1-1, I usually don't. I don't like them. But if you have to run one, a 1-1 with Death Touch is the way to go. Tasigir's Cruelty, I don't think it's all that good. It's way too expensive. Sultai Rune Mark is, again, I prefer the blue one because it gives evasion, but giving Death Touch is also very useful if you're running that kind of colors. And the fact that it can be green or blue makes it very flexible. Sultai Emissary is not good. It's a delayed manifest. I'm not a fan. But I'd rather be playing a card that gives me manifest for 2 on turn 2 than 2 for a 1-1 waiting for manifest. Sib-Ig, even though it does replace itself, Sib-Sig Host is huge, but for 5 mana, not a great ability. I'm not a fan. Reach of Shadows. This makes me think in Dragons of Tarkir will probably have colorless creatures, because why would they make a removal spell like this, given that there's not so many artifact creatures in the set. It makes me think that we could potentially have colorless creatures, which would be sweet if that's true in Dragons of Tarkir. Or, I guess technically M16, but really Dragons. Reach of Shadows is fantastic removal. 5 mana, straight up remove almost anything that matters. Hooded Assassin, this is a cycle. This one's really good because it destroys a creature, deal damage this turn. That's a great form of removal, and you also get a creature along with it. Very strong. Gurmag Angler is usually going to be 4 for a 5/5, which is fine. Pretty solid for limited as things go, especially for a common. Douse in Gloom is, normally I would say it's not great, but since there's a lot of 2 toughness creatures going on here in the entire set, I think this card will be surprisingly powerful, giving a little bit of life gain. 3 mana instant speed seems solid for a form of removal like that. Ancestral Vengeance is not that great. I don't like it. Alicia's Vanguard, 3 for a 3/3 that bounces to your hand. I guess it technically enables things, but it's going to be hard to do Dash and Ray at the same time because you just don't have the kind of mana in limited most of the time. So it's an okay creature. 4 for 3/3 on its own is fine, and giving that Dash function is a nice little bonus. Sib-Sig Muckrakers is not that great. We've kind of always had these cards. I prefer the kind that was like this, but 3/6, but with Death Touch. We've seen that before in cons. This card is kind of not the same follow-up, even though it does give you back a card from your hand. It's a fine card. I maybe put one in a deck kind of thing. Karsi High Priest. Normally I would say this card is outright bad, but realize that it feeds Delve while also allowing you to manifest. Also to manifest, it lets you sacrifice manifest cards that are useless in terms of unmorphing to potentially get a new morph. Enables any sort of mechanic that involves creatures coming into play. It seems actually pretty decent for utility. Orc Sure Shot, I'm not a fan, even though it's a consistently powerful ability, and we've seen cards that have huge power, low toughness do well. I don't like it so much. It's acceptable, but not great. Noxious Dragon is fine. I kind of wish it destroyed something a little bit bigger, but given how many powerful generators there are that are 3 mana or less, how many powerful utility creatures out there, I think this card will be a nice removal with a big body. Merciless Executioner, this card is basically removal most of the time, and worst comes to worst, 3 mana to remove itself, but it's a little bit tricky because your opponent gets to sacrifice what they want. It's decent. Solid. Mardu Shadow Spear is a good aggressive card. I like that when it attacks they automatically lose a life. I think that gives it some body to it, especially your opponent probably doesn't want to waste too much time on it. But 1-drops in general I don't like, so I'm just going to say as a fact it doesn't have Death Touch. I don't like it pretty much. Grave Strength is not good. I don't like it at all. Fearsome Awakening is solid. These kind of cards are usually pretty strong, especially that if you can take a dragon, it gets even more powerful. I can see this card swinging games. Art is gorgeous. Great card. Diplomacy of Waste, I don't like it. It's too expensive. It's sorcery speed. It's not going to work. Dark Deal is, it's going to be probably better in things like Commander than here, because most of the time it's going to feed Delve. That's kind of the main thing to think about. If you're running Delve, you probably want one of these in the deck because it'll allow you to drop your hand, build up your Delve, and get a new hand basically straight up, which is nice. Battle Brawler, 2 for a 2/2 with upside. Good card, run it. Tassiger Golden Fang, I think, is kind of bleh. I'm not a fan of him in general, and I think in limited he'll be okay. Sure, fine, he gives you some advantage, but seems a lot of mana to go into it. Mostly think of him as like a 4 for a 4/5. This is what I would think about him. Soul Flayer is really strong because if you're thinking about morph, try to protect, not morph, delve, think of it as you can take 2 mana off in terms of constant functionality, and this gives you 4 for a 4/4 with potentially huge abilities. I think he's very, very playable. Palace Siege, like all the sieges, is good, consistent, giving you life gain. I think is it could potentially, it can go either way. Both abilities are very strong and limited. Mardu Strike Leader, consistent creatures every turn, 3/2 for 3. There you go. Great, very functional rare. Crux of Fate is basically removal, and it's nice that if you play it and your opponent just played their big creature, you play it, their big dragon, let's say, or their big creatures, whatever, you can flip it either way. You can either blow things up and then play your own dragon, or you can play it against your opponent's dragons. There's enough dragons going on here. I think it actually could matter in terms of, or if you're going to play a dragon next turn, you can play this before, wipe the board clean, play your dragon on turn 6. Think of it in that sense. It's a very strong Wrath, of course. Archfiend of Depravity, I think it's going to help against a lot of the token powerhouses of the set and a lot of the very aggressive decks. It's also a huge flyer. 5/4 for 5 flying is great. Run it anyway, but its ability is an extra bonus. Ghastly Conscription, I think it's only going to be powerful and limited, and even then, with Delve existing, it's going to be probably more of a sideboard card, I think, most of the time. But if you see someone who's not running Delve, this card is going to be powerful. Brutal Horde Chief is absolutely freaking insane in limited, which is why it's mythic, and which is why, if you get it, you probably want to play it. So those are all the black cards from Fate Reforged. I'd love to hear what you guys think. Put that down below in the comments section. If you're enjoying the series, well, tap the like button and stay tuned by subscribing for more, because I'm bringing you the rest of the set before end of week, as well as the pre-release primer that I usually put out. So thanks for watching, everyone. As always, Roxabox90 signing out. I'll see you guys next time.